Everyone, welcome to Daily Revelations. Today we're going to talk about seeking answers and desperately seeking for an answer. We're in the book of Daniel again, and I'm focusing on Daniel 10 today. And Daniel knew something was going on, and he got wind of the spiritual battle that was happening, and he really desired to know how to exist in what was going on. And so he was seeking God in a desperate way, to the point that he was mourning, and he did a semi-fast. At this point he was in the 80s, and so he had still a position in government. In the next chapter, that he is still working as a counsel for the kings. And so he knew that what he said and what he did had a great impact, and he didn't want to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing against God. And so he was seeking God desperately for answers. What is going on? And what do I do? What's my part? And he didn't budge until he heard from God. And God actually sent him physically a messenger in a vision that answered his question. But he didn't just give a little prayer and say, well, God, if you want me involved in this, then, come answer me. No, he desperately sought an answer, to the point that he kept seeking until he got what he needed to move forward. How often do we do that? I think even of myself, and I don't. I'm kind of a wimp. And I think, well, if God doesn't tell me right away, then he just doesn't want me to know. But is that the truth? No, it's not. God wants us to seek him. And this is what the messenger that was sent to Daniel said. He said, do not be afraid. Don't you love that? That's how it, from the first day that you set your heart on understanding this spiritual battle that's going on, and on humbling yourself before God, your words were heard. And I have come in response. 3 weeks later, he came in response. Would he have come if he only just said the prayer? And, well, it makes me think, is our heart really set on finding an answer? If all we do is say, well, God, if you just give me an answer, then I'll listen and I'll obey. I find that the things that I really dive in deep and seek God on, and I press in and press in and press in, not only does it push me closer to getting the answer, but it pushes me closer to what I'm going to need to do when I hear what that answer is. And oftentimes, it's a really hard change in my life that God is preparing me for through my pressing forward and desperately seeking that answer. And so when we go through things like this, and we know that God is stirring, we know that a spiritual battle is going on, and this spiritual battle that was happening, if you want to summarize what was going on at this time, it was the end of captivity for Jerusalem. These 70 years had been up, and God was using the king of Persia, Cyrus, at that time, to release the captives, to send them back, to rebuild the temple, to build the wall. The enemy wanted nothing to do with that, and he was fighting against this. Of course, Cyrus didn't know. He was stuck in the middle. He was just doing it because he felt like it was the thing to do, because God was moving in his heart. He didn't know. He wasn't a believer. He wasn't even of Jewish descent, but God was using him. And God even said in the prophecies before that he was going to use this man named Cyrus, which he did. So that is what was going on. And when Daniel got a better understanding of what was happening, he could then help in the ways that God had prepared him and placed him in his life, in his leadership, to do that. But it probably, and Daniel didn't write about this, but when you have to go against the grain and do things that make you stick out, those are hard things. God was preparing Daniel's heart for this as well, and what he was going to call him to do, and the visions that he was going to show him yet to come about what was going to happen in the future to Jerusalem. And that's what he also states in this chapter. So what about you and me? Is there something going on that we really need to press into God for? Not only because we need to know what God's answer is so that we don't go against it, but also so that God can change our hearts so that we can pursue what he's doing with an even greater purpose. So I just encourage you, if you're at a place where you go, I don't even know what's going on in this, and this is like, I don't understand, it all seems awful. A lot of times when life turns upside down, God is doing something big. And we can either run away and say, I don't want anything to do with that, or we can say a quick prayer and say, well, God didn't answer, so I'm just going to keep doing what I want to do. Or we can press in. We can set our heart on understanding. And we can just, as Daniel did, humble ourselves and realize we don't have the answer. God has the answer. And we need to wait. And as I was praying about this while I was walking my dog this morning, God said, what if the praying takes 3 days? What if it takes 3 weeks like Daniel? What if it would take 3 months? What if it would take 3 years? What if it would take 3 decades? Would you keep pursuing? Whew, that's a hard one, isn't it? But I know that God will give me the strength, and he'll give you the strength to pursue him on whatever you're seeking him on, and to go through. He has in the past in my life, and I know he will in the future. So be encouraged. God doesn't leave you just to seek him on your own. He asks you to seek him, but then he supplies what you need to do it. So have an awesome day, and I'll see you next time on Daily Revelations. Bye, everyone.